now cut across to my colleague Parikshit, who is standing by with Vinod Agarwal, the president of SIAM and the managing director and CEO of Volvo Eicher Commercial Vehicles. This is on the sidelines of SIAM's annual convention, and there's so much to talk about, so let's listen into what they have to say. Over to you.
Well, a lot of buzz over Minister Gadkari's statement that he will raise taxes. He will request the finance minister to put an additional 10% GST on diesel vehicles if the industry does not phase them out very quickly. But then he has also clarified that there is no proposal at this stage. Let me get a reaction on this from Mr. Vinod Agarwal, the MD of VECV, also the president of SIAM. Sir, how do you see this statement coming? This is already a very highly taxed industry, and this is something that SIAM always keeps taking up with the government, but an additional 10% GST being proposed by Nitin Gadkari.
I think the Honourable Minister has already clarified, but I would make out of it that it was more of a push towards sustainability. So he was making out a case that the industry should do more work on sustainability. They should prefer more and more alternate fuels which are more sustainable, and they should move towards that, and they should discourage diesel. I think it was more from that, basically that point of view. It was not a, I think, fiscal point.
But any additional taxation, how will that impact the auto industry, sir?
I think auto industry is already very, very heavily taxed. So definitely it will not be good for the auto industry if there is any additional tax.
Okay, and when it comes to diesel, the commercial vehicles are predominantly diesel at the moment. When we talk about phasing out diesel completely from commercial vehicles, what is the kind of timeline that you need?
Look, the entire industry is already seized of this, that we have to move towards electric vehicles, or we have to move on the alternate fuels. Like, for example, for the long haul trucks, we are looking at moving towards LNG fuel, LNG gas-based fuel. Now, if you have to move towards LNG, you need a lot of infrastructure. Like, we can come out with the LNG engines very fast. LNG engine and CNG engine, there will not be much difference. The difference is only in the storage of gas. Now, till the time you have those infrastructures, you can't see any growth happening in the LNG fuel vehicles. Right. Now, I think there is some proposal going on that there will be some LNG corridors. So we welcome that, and if there are LNG corridors and if the fuel stations are set up there, I think industry will be more than ready to move towards LNG.
But can diesel be phased out of commercial vehicles completely? Tractors for that matter?
No, it will gradually keep on changing. So I will not say that you will be able to phase out any fuel like that. Definitely there is a case for it to come down, but it will take time.
Right. You're saying it will take time. We've also been hearing about the government speak about a FAME 3 scheme. We heard the minister speak about FAME 1, FAME 2. What is your engagement with the government right now on FAME 3?
I think that is the thing which still is at the government level. There has been no discussion on that with the industry.
Right. But do you think electric vehicle incentives on biofuels, that's needed for the next phase of growth?
As you have seen, the Secretary to the Government of India also was speaking in the convention. End of the day, the incentives will phase out. So anything which is feasible only based on incentives, it doesn't sustain. So therefore, it has to be more on the cost of ownership. So cost of ownership basis, any technology has to be sustainable. Now the challenge is that the electric vehicle initial cost is very high, and maybe during the cost of ownership period, the cost can be lower. But you need an intermediary who can, be there with you during this life of the vehicle, and then he is willing to pay fund the vehicle. So I think those are the challenges which have to be met. If those challenges are met, and then we are ready with the infrastructure, then the things will move fast.
All right. I would also like to ask you about the kind of investments you're making into electric vehicles, into biofuels. What is the roadmap that VECV is working with for the next 5 to 10 years?
If you take electric vehicles, we are already, our buses are already running in Volvo Eicher vehicles. We have electric buses running on the roads. We have recently given one 5.5 ton truck also. It was the first in the industry. So we are working on the electric vehicle technologies very aggressively, both in trucks as well as in buses. And similarly, we are also working on the other alternate fuels, like for example LNG. We are working on hydrogen. If you see our display of vehicles in the last Auto Expo, we had showcased their hydrogen fuel cell also. We had showcased their hydrogen IC engine also. So we are working on all the technologies.
So what percentage would you like to take them to, these different technologies, by 2030, sir?
2030, still I would feel the percentage will not be very high. Because these are the things which take time. But once they take off, then they can be faster migration.
When it comes to biofuels, alternate fuels and electric, what would be the next big launch from a VECV that we can expect?
We are now getting ready with the LNG. If the LNG fuel is available, we will be giving LNG. Electric truck we have already introduced. We will be coming out with more models. But the whole thing is about the initial cost. And then how do we make it viable? The question is that someone has to take a call on the entire life of the vehicle. Now if you talk to the consumer, now he says, I am going to spend so much money. Now, in this life of the vehicle, how much life I should consider?
Right.
So he is not very confident, even though we try to convince him. But still, that's the challenge. So there has to be few initial takers, and then that will create more and more confidence. So that's why the migration will be small.
Now, when it comes to electric buses, the adoption by state transport units has been slow. Yes, there are government tenders coming out, but what is the kind of incentive or intervention that the industry needs to promote electric buses?
I think on that, a lot of discussion has happened because the major challenge there was the payment security mechanism. The industry was giving these buses on per kilometer basis over a period of 12 years. Now, there was no payment guarantee that you are keeping the buses with you, the assets remain with you. You have to collect these rentals or per kilometer basis hire every month for next 12 years. Now, there is a risk in this. We are not getting the funding. Like if institutions or banks have to take the call that they can fund this for 12 years, they say ki where is the payment security mechanism. If suppose tomorrow the payment doesn't come, or if there are defaults, then who will protect them? That was the challenge, and on that, a lot of discussion has happened with the government, and we are very confident that something will get worked out on that.
Right. The PLI scheme for auto industry, that's been very slow to take off. Very few have actually applied, and very few have actually got those certificates for incentives as well. Where do you think the problem lies, and what are you engaging with the government on?
I think there was last, I think 2-3 weeks back, there was a workshop which was conducted by Ministry of Heavy Industries, and they have clarified a lot of things, and they have also agreed to extend a period of by 1 year, and so hopefully I think the things will move faster because there is a lot of interest from the industry, and a lot of new investments have to happen, which industry has.
Well, with that, we're out of time on Midcap Radar. Thank you for watching Mutual Fund Corner. When we return.